We're going to get our second act straight on. We haven't had him here at first half before. Really excited to see somebody fresh face here. So let's have a big round of applause for Hisham Zidine.
Hello, good evening. Lovely, I put a light on this. It's always lovely to be here, isn't it? Give me a woo if it's always lovely to be here. Woo! Great, great. Now, the post-truth world, it's become rather insidious and pervasive, hasn't it? It's pretty much seeped through all aspects of our life. I mean, we're almost prepared, almost willing to accept some degree of economy with the truth. Austerity of risen, isn't it? Now the reality is, of course, if the truth economy were really an issue, it would be one point in which the poor would not be expected to bear the burden of the hardest truths, unlike the real economy. Because if that were the case, then we would have the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg up in arms saying, "Oh, my good fellow, are you saying you want the truth? My dear boy, I'm not sure you can handle the truth." Now, this isn't meant to be a rant about the deplorable state of the world. What I'm going to do is tell you a very personal story. It's not a terribly touching story. Well, actually, it isn't a touching story at all. It is a true story, and it's not that much of a story, but I think I've sort of primed you for the anticlimax that is to come. Okay. Now, just a minute ago, I came up on stage and I said, "It's always lovely to be here," and that was a complete lie. Okay? I've never been here. I've never even been to this pub before. Okay? Now, that's no fault of the pub, it's just that I don't get out very much. Okay? I have a 2-year-old daughter, and now I get out a lot more because of her. But she's not quite into the pub scene yet. But I've never been here, and you didn't know that. It seems like an irrelevant fact, but I did manage to force you into a cheer around the fact that it's always nice to be here. And that seems like a trivial, unimportant lie. Partly because it is. But you see, that trivial, unimportant lie that you were willing to buy into and give me a woo happened today. And fast forward 2 years, and you can't look yourselves in the mirror. I have a big red shiny button on my desk in number 10, and Poland has a terminal case of déjà vu. Okay? Now, I've just put Poland in that joke just for reasons of historical irony. I'm not a racist. Okay? Some of my best friends are not racist. But, you know, it's not that I'm just going to go from this evening with your tacit participation in my woo, just suddenly becoming Prime Minister of the country, right? I'll have to go through a few interim steps, like somewhere in between, I'll have to leave my daughter at a pub, and forget that she's there. And do people remember that? You know, a few years ago, David Cameron left his daughter in a pub and forgot she was there. You know, it was a kind of happier time. I find myself feeling nostalgic for those days when that was the level of incompetence and irresponsibility that we expected from a head of state. Right? I mean, right now, we wouldn't give a shit. Really. If somebody left their daughter in the pub and said, well, there are loads of people who've raised that. Okay, now, you don't really have to fear about me possibly getting into number 10. I'm brown, male, I have an Arabic name, and I cannot pass for a Saudi royal. Okay, I'm not that shade of brown. So even if I had a curry takeout in my hand, I couldn't get to number 10. Right? I couldn't even pass as the delivery boy. So you're really under, no great threat from me with regards to your future. But what I've done there is essentially use a sledgehammer to drive home a very fine drawing pin of a point, which is that we can let little things pass, but they will escalate. And we often don't want to make a fuss because, well, you've never been here before, but in the great scheme of things, does it really matter? Could you let me get away with it? Right? I'll give you an illustration. Every summer, the RSPCA runs a campaign, right, about dog health. And the campaign has a simple, powerful, effective message, which is dogs die in hot cars. Okay, it's a very effective campaign. One year, in the southwest of the country, let's not say Cornwall, in the southwest of the country, there was a minor typo. And the poster went out with hot dogs die in cars. Right? Now that was a very minor typo. Everybody responded much as you responded. They were amused. Nobody really wanted to point it out. Right? And the dogs of the southwest suffered. The campaign had lost its punch, quite possibly because people were slightly unnerved about the RSPCA asking them to judge whether their dogs were hot. And the dogs paid a terrible price. And that was a minor typo that nobody really wanted to make a fuss about. Now that story is completely true, except in the factual sense. I'm going to leave you with a random thought. You've all been very kind. And that is this. I think, therefore I am. I thought, therefore I was. And then my mind went completely blank.